business now with Charles. We're going to return to that meeting between Trump and Macron. This time, though, we're going to discuss trade between the US and EU, a relationship that could be upended by Donald Trump.
That's right, Stuart. As a reminder, trade between the European Union and US last year totaled $975 billion. That's according to the US State Trade Representative. A huge mass of commercial exchanges that is threatened by Donald Trump's planned tariffs, which were obviously a point of discussion in the U.S. president's meeting with his French counterpart, Emmanuel Macron. Let's look at the most concrete threats so far. There's the 25% levies on steel and aluminum imports to the U.S., which would have a sizable impact on EU metal producers like Germany and could take effect as early as March 12th. And there's also Trump's plan to impose a wide-ranging reciprocal tariffs on all its trade partners, which obviously would include the EU, and these could go ahead sometime in April. While Trump says this is a way to raise money for the U.S. federal government and bring back manufacturing jobs to the U.S., Macron put forward two arguments against the trade war, underlining that they would go against Trump's stated geopolitical agenda. First, by hinting at a possible rapprochement of the EU with China, the U.S.'s main technological and geopolitical rival, and then by suggesting that tariffs would hurt the EU in its bid to be less reliant on the U.S. for defense. Take a listen.
I understood your priority is to put tariff on China because President Trump said they are unfair with us. Come on, you cannot have a trade war with China and Europe at the same time. I hope I convince him, but I think the solution in this very moment is not to increase tariffs. Why? Because the emergency is to increase our defense and security expenditures. How do you want us to increase security and defense expenditures if we are a trade war?
Emmanuel Macron there. Well, meanwhile, the EU also working on its possible response to US tariffs. They're going to use the playbook used during the first Trump administration.
That's right. Back in 2018, Trump had hit nearly $7 billion worth of European steel and aluminum exports with duties citing national security concerns. And back then, the EU responded by targeting politically sensitive economic sectors in the US with retaliatory tariffs, sectors that could be hit again this time. Whiskey and bourbon from Kentucky, deep in the Republican heartland, or motorcycles made by Harley-Davidson in Wisconsin, a swing state where Trump narrowly won more votes last year. Bourbon and whiskey were exported to the EU to the tune of $959 million last year, whereas motorcycle exports stood at $167 million. Well, according to reporting from Bloomberg, the bloc is thinking of expanding that list of U.S. goods that could be targeted, and those retaliatory tariffs from the first Trump administration had been suspended until the end of March after a deal had been struck with the Biden administration. This leaves just over a month for the U.S. and EU to come to an agreement before the trade war officially starts again.
Now, Trump's tariff threats have been weighing on investor sentiment. What's the picture in Europe at the Open?
Let's have a look. Also worth noting, though, that Trump also said on Monday that suspended 25% tariffs on all goods from Mexico and the EU and Canada would actually be implemented on March 4th, in spite of the efforts by both those countries to boost security at their borders, as has been requested by Trump. And we're seeing European bourses opening lower this Tuesday. The DAX in Frankfurt down 0.25% lower.
Now, we're going to take you to India for this next story. And in recent years, the country has been able to boast some of the world's fastest economic growth rates. It's not necessarily trickled down, if you like, though, to the population.
The job market and pay levels have not been keeping pace. The country's population is overwhelmingly young, and those young Indians are now increasingly turning to cryptocurrency trading to boost their incomes. Brian Quinn takes a closer look.
At this private academy in central India, some dozen young adults gather for their daily lesson. But this is not your average continuing education class. Here, students are learning to trade cryptocurrencies.
Before, I wasn't paying much attention to crypto trading, but now I usually spend my nights doing it since markets are open 24 hours. However, there's some volatility in the cryptocurrency, so it can get risky sometimes.
India is the world's most populous country and one of the youngest. 2/3 of its 1.4 billion citizens are under 35. It has world-leading economic growth, but jobs and salaries have not kept up. To supplement meager incomes, in recent years, many young Indians have taken to trading stocks, options, and foreign currencies. They're now increasingly dabbling in crypto. The election of Donald Trump, a former skeptic who has since rebranded himself America's first crypto president, sent digital currency soaring. Indian crypto trading volumes more than doubled last quarter to hit $1.9 billion.
I've started trading in cryptocurrency as well. I'm backtesting a few trading strategies.
At 30%, India's taxes on crypto gains are among the world's highest, but the sector remains lightly regulated. The country's crypto market is projected to boom from $2.5 billion last year to more than $15 billion by 2035, with most of the growth attributed to smaller retail traders, and most of them located outside the country's top-tier cities.
Back to you, Stuart.
Charles, thanks a lot. Charles Pellegrin with the Business News.